What makes us unique here at Phoenix Rising is that individualized care where the clients are surrounded and supported by our staff all the time. Every single step that they go through or every change that they go through is a big deal. It's an opportunity for them to relapse if they're not supported. So I make sure that we're there for them in every single step of the way. A lot of them have been through multiple programs. Some haven't been to any programs. So we try and meet them exactly where they're at in their experiences, in their life, in their current situation that they're dealing with. Recovery is possible. Whatever they got themselves into, legal problems, family problems, whatever the problems that they got going on in their lives, that they can recover from it and live a totally different life and better life than they could have ever imagined. So after they're done with us, they can continue with us on an individual basis, on an outpatient basis, where they can come and attend a group once a week if they wanted to. They could continue therapy with the therapist that they started with when they first entered treatment, and they can keep that therapist as long as they want to. And that kind of relationship builds long-term success, and we want to make sure that our clients get that. Addiction is such a lonely experience and such a lonely time. You don't have to do that by yourself. We're here to help you walk through every single thing that you got going on. Here at Phoenix Rising, what we want to help you do is rise out of the ashes and your addiction and your disease to a new and brighter future.
My treatment at Phoenix Rising was amazing. Just being vulnerable in these rooms really opened me up. Learning how to be honest for the first time in my life, I was able to gather the tools that I desperately needed to live a life in sobriety.
I had no desire to live prior to coming here. I've found new passions and new hobbies, friends and relationships, everything that makes for a wholesome life here. My life has truly changed for the best since my time here.
All right, aloha and welcome. Happy Saturday to everybody. This is Ben Kaneaiakala, owner of Phoenix Rising Addiction Center here in Laguna Beach, California. Thank you for joining me on this second live stream. We did one last week, Saturday at the same time, where we were able to discuss and go over the very first paragraph of step one of the 12 step program out of the 12 and 12. And we found we we've changed it up a little bit where we're not just focusing on alcoholism and or drug addiction um, specifically, but what we decided to integrate into our program and the things that we do when we're talking about the steps is how we can integrate the steps toward our thinking and our behaviors. Because once we get into recovery and we're clean and sober, um, we are now in the grips of a more progressive illness or disease called the thinking. The thing that is between my two ears. And that's been where most of the work in sobriety and why the 12 step program has been so important for a lot of people is because it's not just addressing the particular problem that they're in a 12 step program for, but it's helping the individual work towards building a spiritual program, learning how to integrate all the basics of the program and integrating that into a design for living a life of recovery or sobriety as we most call it, and learning how to integrate that into um, our sobrieties, and I think that's really important for us to understand as we go along on this journey of sobriety, that we're able to connect with that, you know. And so we're going to dig into a little bit more into step one. But this is what we had discussed last week, and you'll see on the top of my screen here. Step one, we admitted that we're powerless over our thinking and that our behaviors have become unmanageable. So this is still very valid and very useful, even for people in sobriety who's not drinking or using, or who might not be in their active addiction or whatever addiction it might be. Um, that we're now able to focus on our thinking problem and how we have this excessive, repetitive, just stuff just continuing to just ramble and ramble and ramble in our head, called the voice in the head. And that way of living is just kind of this one next damn thing after another type of a thing. And so when we look at the basics of the program of going to meetings and fellowshipping and finding a sponsor and getting into service and working the steps and learning how to do prayer and meditation, when we integrate those things into our lives, we're then able to use those tools to help address probably the biggest addiction that we have in this world, which is what's between our two ears, our thinking. And that's been my experience in my sobriety. And my sobriety date is January 25th, 1989. So I've been at this a very long time. I've been helping people and working in the addiction industry almost my entire sobriety. And that's still the major problem that gets maybe not looked at as closely, or isn't not as much time is spent on this topic of specifically the thinking and how our thinking and what's going on between our two ears actually has an impact on our sobriety, even long-term sobriety. Yeah. So this admission that we have to do of powerlessness over our thinking isn't something that we just do once in a while or sometimes, or
when I think I need to. This has to become a way of living. This has to become a way of um, that it becomes an automatic thing that we do. It becomes a part of the way we live, a design for living. And when we're able to do that and incorporate that into our lives, uh, we get better outcomes. The quality of our life. We're not as reactive. We're more responsive, because what we're doing is we're bringing in this level of consciousness that we never had before. That was either being watered down or masked, or it's and we aren't able to really see the truth of what's going on. We just see what's in our head, and we live in our thinking either in the past or in the future. If you were to take a moment right now to just take a look at what's going on with you, you would definitely be able to see that I'm constantly either thinking about past things, even if it was later today or earlier today, or I'm thinking of how that thing or that thought is going to affect me in the future. So we're constantly always living in the past and in the future, which doesn't give us a lot of presence. And so what the 12-step program does as one of the, and therapy and what all these resources ends up doing, at least for me and what I found out throughout my journey, is that it brings me present. It brings me into presence. And it brings me focused on what's in front of me now. There is these three mottos at the end of, in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, at the end of the chapter, The Family Afterwards. And the book, all of the literature for any 12-step program is just flooded with redirecting us back into spirituality, or into the present moment, or into now. Like one of the biggest ones is one day at a time. Well, that one day at a time can be turned into one moment at a time. But those three mottos at the end of that chapter of The Family Afterwards is designed to help or suggested as tools or resources to use for someone coming into the program and having to deal with family and a lot of those types of things. And it's live and let live, which is to be in the moment, to live in the moment, and let others live, including ourselves. Easy does it. To take it easy, slow down, stop worrying about the past, stop worrying about the future. Just easy does it into the moment. Yeah. And first things first. Those three mottos that are given to us at the end of that chapter is vital resources and tools for us in us redirecting our thinking, this problem that I have with my thinking, into the present moment. And what tends to happen is that the behaviors that come after that kind of thinking, uh, the quality is better. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for those, for the unmanageable to become manageable. And the only way that I know how, at least in my journey, is to be present, to use all of the tools and all the resources that we have at our fingertips to bring us into the present moment of no thinking. So when we admit that we're powerless over our thinking and that our lives have become unmanageable, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm trying to reference. So when we go into the first paragraph, it says, "Who cares?" And I'm just going to kind of recap this because we covered this in the first live stream. But this "who cares" to admit complete defeat, practically no one, of course, every natural instinct cries out against the idea of personal powerlessness. It is truly awful to admit that we have an obsessed, warped thinking, that our thinking is obsessed and it's warped, creating destructive behaviors that only an active being or presence can remove from us. And that was something that we had talked about in the first last week. And I just want to point out that this isn't going to be an easy task. When they say that every natural instinct is going to cry out against this idea of personal powerlessness, believe me, it is going to cry out and come up with any way, any fashion, any distraction, any body, any something, people, places. It's going to use whatever it can. The ego is going to use whatever it can to take back the power and make us unmanageable again. Yeah. So we're going to go into the next paragraph here, um, where it goes, no other kind of bankruptcy is like this one. Our thinking and behaviors have now become the rapacious creditor. That's what it does. That our thinking just bleeds us, and it just creates more pain and suffering. Yeah, this thinking of ours, what's between our two ears, just creates. I should actually create thinking equals pain and suffering, because that's literally what it does. It creates literally pain and suffering. And when I'm living in the presence, and I can make being the most important thing that I do every day, and that I can bring that into everything that I do, I find out that this ego or this thinking doesn't have that kind of control, and it doesn't create that kind of pain and suffering. And I'm not talking about physical pain. I'm not talking about legal pain and suffering, or some of the external consequences that can come from our unmanageable thinking and behaviors. We can get into external consequences, and do that. That's always available for us. But what I'm talking about is internal. What I'm talking about is the excessive thinking in the head. Anxiety, depression, stress, worry, fear, those internal things that keep us up at night, that continues to create chaos throughout our day, or an opportunity for us to get upset, where we're doing more reacting than we are responding. I'm talking about those types of internal things that are being created by our thinking. And that's the type of stuff that uh, this step addresses. And that's what I'm trying to discuss and talk about, is how powerful our thinking is. Yeah. And we think that we're in control of our thinking, when in actuality we're just slaves of our thinking, because we don't really have any control over our thinking. Our thinking controls us. And so when we realize that no other kind of bankruptcy is like this one, our thinking and behaviors have now become the rapacious creditor, it bleeds us of all self-sufficiency. And self-sufficiency is our thinking. Self-sufficiency is, I can do it by myself. I got this. I know better. I'm a big boy. I'm an adult. I'm smarter than you. I've got this many degrees. So I can do this thing. I can win against this thing called thinking. No, we cannot think ourselves into better thinking. How is that even possible? I can't even think myself into better behaviors. Uh, I can do better acts of behavior, or I can do acts of kindness, I can do acts of service, I can do acts of whatever, and still have the ego and the pride and the thinking still being about me, 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 and I. I can still do that. Even with acts, it can still be self-serving and about me and I. So I got to be really careful that I am bringing my consciousness into the things that I am doing, and not my ego and not my thinking. So it bleeds us of all self-sufficiency, and at some point in time, we get sick and tired of being sick and tired. We get sick and tired of feeling the pain that we're feeling, feeling the stresses of what's going on, in our lives, or why isn't this happening, or why isn't that, why is things so hard, why am I having to do, why, constantly just Oh my God. And just constantly creating labels, judging, not just self, but others. We get into identities. And that's what our thinking does, is that it has to do those things. And as long as we're doing those things, our thinking is doing those things, we are in constant slave. We're a slave to our thinking. So it bleeds us of all self-sufficiency and all will to resist its demands. Once we can accept the stark fact is accepted, our bankruptcy as going human concerns is complete. Once we can realize that that's a problem, that's an issue, yeah, then I can be free. I am actually more free and I actually have true peace, love, and joy when I'm able to get to this place of surrender. If I'm able to get this place of accepting that my thinking, um, I'm powerless over it, and that what it has continued to create is unmanageable behaviors. And so we don't need to turn to looking at external consequences or problems that we might be having, but we can just look at the internal problems and struggles that we're having between stress, anxiety, depression, worry, fear, you know, just those internal things, you know what I mean? And trying to use our thinking to try and fix it, you know? And it's such an insane process. And we all got to go through whatever it is that we got to go through to help us get there, in realizing this stark fact. And a lot of the times, it's pain and suffering. A lot of pain and suffering. In this chapter of step one, they talk about raising one's bottom. And what does that look like? Raising one's bottom isn't, oh, I got to make really bad choices and have really bad consequences and outcomes. No, those raising of the bottom is just recognizing that I'm powerless over my thinking. That my thinking creates a lot of worry and a lot of stress and a lot of problems for me. So the raising of the bottom doesn't come necessarily as consequences of my behavior, but just the awareness of how my thinking, and if I can use prayer, or I can use meditation, or a meditation practice, and learn how to incorporate that meditation practice into everything that I do, you'll find a lot more freedom from that. We always talk about meditation as being like a formal time of like formal meditation, and we're like trying to achieve a certain goal, or I need to become spiritual, or anything like that. We're just trying to, in the practice of meditation, is just trying to connect and disidentify, detach from our thinking. To be able to use our meditation practice to connect to our breathing, and connect to our inner bodies, and hopefully go beyond that into being, where there is no name. Yeah. And so that's what we can continue to do. And the thing about that practice is the formal name is meditation, but if we can get it into how we live, and make it a way of living and a design for living, there's no destination. We're not trying to achieve a particular goal in meditation. We're just learning how to practice meditation, and bring it into everything that we do, not just my morning meditation, and that's the only time that I stay centered, or at night when I'm doing a 10 step and I'm wrapping it up, and all that kind of stuff. No, it's to bring this, to be free from the bondage of self. We have to be able to be present. We have to be able to bring the practices of this program into everything that we do, you know, into everything that we do. So this is the second paragraph. That was the second paragraph of step one. And I'm looking forward to hearing any comments or suggestions of what people might want to discuss or talk about, or I can cover all kinds of different things. I can go all kinds of different directions with this thing, and it's just an amazing thing, and I hope that you're able to find the resources to help you be free from your thinking, you know, and not be so caught up in time, past and future. And unfortunately, for us and for most of us, we will never disidentify from time. We will never disidentify from our thinking because we think that's who we are, and it's not who we are. Our thinking isn't who we are. One of the core beliefs around self or false self or the ego, or the thinking, is that I am not enough. There's always been this discussion of, the hole in the donut. We're trying to fill the hole in the donut, or this emptiness inside, or I just don't feel part of, or I just don't feel this, or I just don't, that emptiness inside, that hole in the donut. Well, the hole in the donut doesn't have a ending. That hole in the donut is between my two ears in my thinking. So it will never end. It will never stop. It doesn't matter how much I try to fill the hole, or that feeling of not belonging, or the I'm not enough. And that's why we do what we do, is because there's a deep down inside that hole of I am not enough. At the end of it all, if you do a fourth and a fifth step, and you look at resentments and your sex conduct and harms done to others and things like that, and you start looking for themes and patterns, one of the most biggest or underlying facts or truths that you'll find out is that all of those things go back to I am not enough. And we're either being inferior or superior, and that's where our ego lives, is that we think that it's different, and we're neither superior or inferior, you know and that's been true for me. uh, that's something that I've discovered for myself throughout my sobriety and throughout my journey, and I just hope that it's something that is useful for you, and that you can find that for yourself also, and to be truly free from the bondage of self, the ego. Yeah, that endless hole in the donut that we're trying to fill with things, people, places, and none of those things fill that hole in the donut. After we're done getting the new car, we're done getting the new house, we're done getting the thing that we just bought at the store or whatever to make us feel good. uh, that that lasts very short. That happiness or joy that we got from getting that goes away really quickly. Some faster than others, some longer than others, you know. But then we're right back into the empty hole again, the hole in the donut. So the quicker or the sooner we can become aware of this, that I'm powerless over my thinking, and that my life or my behaviors have become unmanageable, the sooner I can get to not using those things to bring about true peace, love, and joy. Because we don't find, at least for me, I don't find true peace, love, and joy in the things of the world. It starts from within, in me connecting to my being in the present moment. And when I'm able to do that, I can be there for my family, I can be there for my kids, I can be there for sponsees, I can be there for anybody who's in front of me, who's in my life, at the grocery store, driving. It doesn't matter where it is, I can be present in that, and not get so caught up in time. So I hope this helps. Again, thank you guys for continuing to follow Phoenix Rising Addiction Center and myself. And we have a ton of other videos that I've made on our YouTube channel. So please pass them on, share them with people. Try and get some more awareness about what's going on with us as human beings, and hopefully we can change that to being human rather than human beings. And if we can bring consciousness or higher power or whatever it is that you use, if you can bring that into everything and bring that into the now and to be now, you'll actually have more peace, love, and joy there. And if we get if we get a car or we get something, we buy something that makes us happy, we're not relying on that thing for all of our happiness. We're not putting all of our eggs into, oh, my wife's going to make me happy, or my kids, they make me happy, and all that kind of stuff. We're not putting it all on people, places, and things. We just have to connect to our being. And if we can do that, at least for me and in my journey and my experience, I find true peace, love, and joy. So thank you guys for being here again on our second live stream. Please stay tuned. I've attached a part 1 of my Step 1 series that I'm going to have playing here. So please enjoy. And again, thank you guys for doing what you're doing, and for listening and being here. And love you guys, and have a great day. Mahalo.
Aloha, this is Ben, co-owner of Phoenix Rising Addiction Center. We're located in Laguna Hills, California. Thank you for joining me today. We've been asked to produce and do some videos on recovery, talking about the steps, talking about alcoholism and drug addiction, and some various other addiction topics. And so we're putting these videos together so that we can share with you on our YouTube channel at Phoenix Rising Addiction Center, and you can find us there. You can subscribe at the end of our video. But one of the things that, and I'll be doing this on a regular basis on our channel, and you can follow us there. And also on Facebook and on Instagram and all of the social media platforms. So please follow us and support us here at Phoenix Rising Addiction Center. And thank you very much for watching us. And looking forward to sharing more about recovery with you. Mahalo. Aloha, this is Ben, Kaneaiakala from Phoenix Rising Addiction Center. Thank you guys for joining me today. We're going to be discussing a topic today regarding Step 1 of the 12-Step program. I am going to use not just alcoholism, drug addiction, but any other type of addiction or struggle that a person might be having as it relates to Step 1 out of the 12 and 12. So we're going to kind of dig into a little different topics. So I hope you enjoy this, and welcome to Phoenix Rising Addiction Center. Okay, so let's dive into this this discussion of Step 1, that we admitted that we were alcoholics, drug addicts, any addiction, that we admitted that we're powerless, and that our lives had become unmanageable. What does it mean to do that? To admit powerlessness, that I'm powerless over something. A lot of the times when people walk into a treatment center or they're walking into a 12-step program, they've gotten themselves into a place of their lives where it's not only affecting them mentally, physically, it's starting to impact their external
world where their families are being hurt and being involved, their jobs are being affected, their finances are being affected, they're starting to lose things, they're bouncing around from job to job, they don't have a job, they're unable to sustain a job, they're drinking and are using throughout the day, various times throughout the day. When they start drinking, they can't stop, and or any other addiction for that matter, to where there's so much time and energy spent on that particular issue or that particular topic or that particular instinct. One of the things that we like to dig into also here is, and even in my sobriety, is working on building character. And one of the things that the program will talk about is our instincts, our God-given instincts, or the 7 deadly sins, as they call them, of pride and ego, of lust, of anger, of gluttony, of envy, of greed, and all of those instincts. Any of them can go into powerlessness and unmanageability. So one of the things that I like to do is, besides alcoholism and drug addiction, start digging into some of those other instincts and see how they're not only impacting maybe the primary addiction, but how they're supporting it, and how that there might be some other deeper issues or problems that could be going on in that person's life regarding that particular problem or addiction or various other things that they're struggling with in their lives or even in their recoveries. A lot of the times what tends to happen is that people will walk into a 12-step program or walk into a treatment center and they think that the only problem that they have is they're drinking or using, or some people go into lust and sexual addiction, some going to gambling, some going to gluttony, to be running my life. And that's what we all face as humans in this world. And there's a lot of things that we've already been conditioned to do, where we've been conditioned to think certain ways. We have conditions of values and beliefs. We have conditions of past experiences and hurts and pains and traumas and good times also. There's a lot of judgments that we have within our thinking. There's a lot of labels and identities that we have within our thinking. And a lot of these things all start from our thinking. Everything starts from our thinking, and then it goes into our bodies, and then our bodies hold on to a lot of the things that we think, and then our emotions also get impacted. So that whole process, depending on where we come from or what's happened throughout our lives, it all starts from our thinking. And so there's a lot of digging into those values and beliefs, those things that we've been conditioned to do and to think and to behave and to problem solve based on what we saw. And so all of us have various different struggles in our lives. It's not just alcoholism or drug addiction or some other type of struggle. Anxiety, stress, depression, being overwhelmed. All of these things are all signs of us trying to manage and control our lives. And then we get into other types of substances or addictions, and we just go down this path of just hell eventually. And a lot of the times we'll spend the most of our lives trying to control things and trying to manage things. And all we really have to do, if we wanted to stop, is just admit powerlessness and unmanageability. And as a result of that, we actually find freedom. And we actually find solutions. And there's so much more to this. I am going to dig into the 12 and 12. I just wanted to kind of just do this first little introduction into this, and then I'm going to start reading and digging into the 12 and 12 and start reading the steps and start discussing my views on it, my experience with it, and hopefully you get something out of it and that it helps you. And if it doesn't help you, don't worry about it. This isn't for everybody. This is just my 31 years of sobriety experience
my 30 years of working in the industry of substance abuse. So this is my journey and my experience that I'm sharing with you that has worked for me. And it doesn't work for everybody. And so if this doesn't work for you, don't worry about it. Take what you want and leave the rest. Take nothing and leave the rest. Doesn't matter. I'm just trying to share my experience, strength, and hope in hopes that it does help somebody. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. So thank you very much for being here. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, our website, our social media platforms on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. We're all there. And I'm looking forward to sharing more with you. So have a great day. Mahalo.